తెలంగాణ గురుకుల పోటీ పరీక్షల్లో ప్రభంజనం సృష్టిస్తూ 3 లక్షల మంది అభ్యర్థులకు పైగా ఫాలోవర్స్ నమ్మకాన్ని, ప్రశంసలు అందుకుంటూ నాణ్యమైన విద్యను మరియు పుస్తకాలను అందిస్తున్న ఏకైక సంస్థ S&S పబ్లికేషన్స్.
గురుకుల జనరల్ స్టడీస్ తెలుగు మీడియం 4 బుక్స్ ప్యాకేజ్, గురుకుల తెలుగు కంటెంట్ అండ్ పెడగాజీ 2 బుక్స్ ప్యాకేజీతో పాటు ర్యాపిడ్ బిట్ బ్యాంక్ ఉచితం.
గురుకుల ఇంగ్లీష్ కంటెంట్ అండ్ పెడగాజీ 2 బుక్స్ ప్యాకేజ్,
గురుకుల మ్యాథమెటిక్స్ కంటెంట్ అండ్ పెడగాజీ 3 బుక్స్ ప్యాకేజ్,
గురుకుల బయాలజికల్ సైన్స్ కంటెంట్ అండ్ పెడగాజీ 2 బుక్స్ ప్యాకేజ్,
గురుకుల సోషల్ స్టడీస్ కంటెంట్ అండ్ పెడగాజీ 3 బుక్స్ ప్యాకేజ్.
ఈ పుస్తకాలను మీ సొంతం చేసుకోవడానికి అన్ని ప్రముఖ బుక్ షాపుల్లో మరియు www.sonlinebooks.com వెబ్సైట్ లో లభించును.
మరిన్ని వివరాలకు సంప్రదించవలసిన నంబర్స్ 8070557777 and 9032064822.
Hello everyone, welcome to Yes Publications. I'm Rohini. We'll be teaching English language and literature to you all. So today's lesson is about APJ Abdul Kalam, Wings of Fire. So Wings of Fire by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. This is an autobiography. Wings of Fire is an autobiography of APJ Abdul Kalam, written in 1999, former President of India. We all know that Abdul Kalam was our president. So earlier he was our president kabatti former president of India antaru. So it was written by Dr. Abdul Kalam. He himself has written this book along with Mr. Arun Tiwari. Autobiography ante tana gurinchi tanu raskune kathani autobiography antaru. So Kalam examines his early life, efforts, hardships, fortitude, luck and chance that eventually led him to lead Indian space research, nuclear and missile programs. Ee book lo what Kalam writes is about his early life. అంటే తన బాల్యం గురించి, తన చిన్నప్పుడు గురించి, తను పడ్డ స్ట్రగుల్స్ గురించి, తర్వాత ఆయన ఎఫర్ట్స్ ఎలాంటి ఎఫర్ట్స్ పెట్టారు, ఆయన హార్డ్షిప్స్ గురించి, దెన్ ఫార్టిట్యూడ్ గురించి, ఎంతటి కష్టంలో అయినా సరే ఆయన ఎలాంటి ఎఫర్ట్స్ పెట్టి ముందుకు వెళ్ళారు లైఫ్లో, అంత సక్సెస్ఫుల్ ఎలా అయ్యారు. సో అన్నీ కూడా మనకి స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్ ఆయన ఆ బుక్లో చాలా డీటెయిల్గా మెన్షన్ చేశారనమాట. మనం అందరం అనుకుంటాము దట్ యునో వెన్ వీ హ్యావ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వీ థింక్ దట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ద ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టోరీ. బట్ వెన్ వీ లుక్ ఇన్ టు ద లైవ్స్ ఆఫ్ గ్రేట్ లీడర్స్, గ్రేట్ లెజెండ్స్, వాళ్ళ స్టోరీస్ విన్నప్పుడు, చదివినప్పుడు, ఎవ్రీ టైమ్ యూ రీడ్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ వన్ థింగ్ దట్ struggles or problems will make a person beautiful because it will shape our personality. స్ట్రగుల్స్ నుంచి వచ్చినప్పుడే మనము ఒక బ్యూటిఫుల్ హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్ లాగా అవుతామన్నమాట. ఎందుకంటే దట్స్ వెన్ వీ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద బ్యూటీ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్, దట్స్ వెన్ వీ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద రియాలిటీ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ అండ్ వీ విల్ లెర్న్ టు బీ హంబుల్డ్. సో దట్ ఈస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. సో Abdul Kalam, Dr. Abdul Kalam is one of my all-time favorite persons and a great leader because he has shown that humility always wherever he was. He showed that that simplicity everywhere he went. He was acknowledged, he was glorified across the globe, but still he remains the same simple, sweet person. Now let us know about his life in detail. Now how he actually talks about his early life from becoming to a missile man. It's not a small thing. అది ఒక చిన్న సంగతి కాదు. ఒక బోట్ ఓనర్ వాళ్ళ అబ్బాయి అసలు చదువుకోవడానికి కూడా అతనికి అవకాశం లేని సిట్యుయేషన్ నుంచి అతను ఎలా అంత స్టేజ్కి ఎదిగారు, ఒక మిసైల్ మ్యాన్ లాగా ఎలా అయ్యారు అనేది ఆయన స్టోరీ చూస్తేనే మనకు అర్థమైపోతుంది. అంటే ఎంత డిటర్మినేషన్ ఉండాలి ఒక పర్సన్కి, ఎంత కమిట్మెంట్ ఉండాలి తన లైఫ్ పైన, గోల్స్ పైన అనేది. ఇట్ ఈస్ a very good example we can all learn. So from here to here, that's the journey. Kalam started his career. First ఆయన career ఎక్కడి నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అయింది? ఫ్రమ్ ఏరోస్పేస్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ ఇన్ చెన్నైలో ఏరోస్పేస్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదివారు. అక్కడి నుంచి ఆయన జర్నీ స్టార్ట్ అయింది. ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ అంతకు ముందు కూడా అతను స్కూల్ డేస్ ఉన్నప్పుడు, కాలేజ్ డేస్లో ఎలా హార్డ్షిప్స్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ అయ్యారు, ఎలాంటి స్ట్రగుల్స్ ఆయన ఫేస్ చేశారు, అవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. ఇందులో మాత్రం ఇక్కడ స్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఈ కెరియర్ గురించి చెప్పినప్పుడు MIT చెన్నై నుంచి ఆయన ఏరోస్పేస్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదవటం at Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and was assigned to build a hovercraft prototype. Hovercraft prototype is కుషన్డ్ థింగ్ అనమాట. ఒక బోట్ పైన ఒక కుషన్ వస్తుంది, అలాంటిది డిజైన్ చేయమని ఆయనకి చెప్పారు. సో ప్లీజ్ మేక్ ఎ నోట్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ పాయింట్స్. This is where he started at Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and was assigned to build first thing what he did was he built a hovercraft prototype, and then later he moved to ISRO. This is a very, very important thing one has to remember, and helped establish the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. So this is not definitely a small thing, it is a very, very important milestone in his life. Later he moved to ISRO and helped establish the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center and pioneered the first space launch vehicle program. He was the first one. Pioneer is the founder, he was the first one who started to launch a space vehicle program. So please make a note of all these things. He is the former president of India, and this book is an autobiography written by APJ Abdul Kalam himself and Mr. Arun Tiwari. In his earlier days, he spoke about his early life, his efforts, his struggles and his fortitude, everything from there on to become to a missile man, the space research, the nuclear and missile programs. And when he started his education, he talks about MIT in Chennai, where he studied aerospace engineering. From there on he moved on to work from Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and was assigned to build a hovercraft prototype. Akkadi nunchi he moved to ISRO and helped establish Vikram Sarabhai Space Center ni establish cheyadaniki he took a major role, and that's when the first space launch vehicle ayana program design chesaru. He was there behind that. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Kalam moved to the DRDO, again another important milestone, to lead the Indian nuclear weapon program. It's not small thing for a person who comes from a small village to become this, to reach this at least. So to the DRDO to lead the Indian nuclear weapons program with particular successes in thermonuclear weapons development, culminating the Operation Smiling Buddha. So Operation Smiling Buddha and an ICBM Agni missile. So he worked for both these things and he dealt with thermonuclear weapons development. Kalam died on 27th July 2015 during a speech at Indian Institute of Management IIM in Shillong. We all know that Dr. Abdul Kalam died while giving a speech in a classroom. It therefore tells us that he is a great teacher, born to be a teacher actually. So this is how his life, in brief, in few lines. Let us move on in detail. Now the autobiography, this was published in English and many other languages too, and across the globe in Chinese and French as well. So in 13 languages it was published in Hindi, English, Tamil, Malayalam, Oriya, Marathi and Gujarati. Not just the Indian languages, but outside the Indian languages. Wings of Fire, this book is very, very important. Please remember Wings of Fire by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. This book was translated in 13 Indian languages and also in 2 international languages, Chinese and later translated into French. Wings of Fire unfolds the story of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam from his childhood time in the following 8 sections. So this entire story of his life is divided into 8 sections. The preface, first one, then the acknowledgements, then the introduction, and then orientation, creation, propitiation, contemplation and epilogue. These are the 8 parts in which his entire life or the entire book is divided into these many parts. I will read it for you again. 1 is the preface, 2 acknowledgements, 3 introduction, 4 is the orientation, 5 is creation, 6 is propitiation, 7 is contemplation and 8 is epilogue. Now in orientation it starts like this. Kalam was born in 1931, the son of a little educated boat owner in Rameshwaram, Tamil Nadu. So when was Abdul Kalam he was born in 1931. Ekkada puttaru? He was born in Tamil Nadu, a small village called Rameshwaram. So he had an unparalleled career. What is the meaning of unparalleled career? It's a promising career, ante with no looking back. He had a very successful career as a first defense scientist, then culminating is what? Bringing together the highest civilian award of India, Bharat Ratna. He worked for Indian missile, he worked for Indian defense as a scientist, and that's why he was given the highest civilian award of India, Bharat Ratna. Then as the chief of the country's defense research and development, so he was the chief of the country's defense research and development programmer. Kalam demonstrated a great potential for dynamics and innovations that existed in seemingly moribund research establishments. So all his experiences, all his knowledge, he used here in making our country the greatest nation, and wherein the country was never into, ఎప్పుడు కూడా మన భారతదేశం ఒక మిసైల్ కంట్రీ లాగా రికగ్నిషన్ వచ్చింది అని అంటే అది కేవలం డాక్టర్ అబ్దుల్ కలాం గారి వల్ల మాత్రమే. సో ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఒక సైంటిస్ట్, డిఫెన్స్ సైంటిస్ట్ నుంచి he started working for missiles, he started working as a chief country's defense research development programmer laga Kalam demonstrated great potential. This is the story of Kalam's own rise from obscurity and his personal and professional struggles. Obscurity, from nothing, ekkad nunchi ekkad varaku his struggles. It is like totally a wonderful and a different story, I can say, as well as the story of Agni. He talks about the story of Agni, not only about his own personal life, he talks about the great missiles Agni, Trishul and Nag that have become household names in India. Idi varaku manaki, even before Kalam got into this, we never know what missiles are. We never heard about Agni missile, we never heard about Trishul, but now it's become very household names to everybody. Like these missiles are very important, Trishul, Nag and Agni, that have become household names in India and that have raised the nation to the level of a missile power. Our country has risen to that level of becoming a missile power only with him, of international reckoning. International reckoning is international recognition. Adi evar valla sadhyam ayyindi ante Dr. Abdul Kalam valla matrame. Since independence, India has sought in various ways to self-realization. Since independence, before independence, mana country, we were all taken as slaves. We were all ruled by Britishers, and the freedom fight which was going on, we all know what are the struggles our great leaders have faced, and today we are enjoying the freedom. And even after we attained independence, there were so many stories, and India has sought success after success in various ways of self-realization, of bringing back our culture, and there's a lot of success. So in that, he also mentions, the book begins with the childhood of Kalam's life. What does he talk? In the beginning, when we talk about Kalam's early life, he talks about his childhood, his parents, his mother, his brother, his sister, and his father's very close friend who was a temple priest in Rameshwaram. We all know that Dr. Abdul Kalam was born in a small village called Rameshwaram. Now let us see about his family. In the beginning, he introduces us to his family and tries to familiarize us with his birthplace, Rameshwaram. So this is what he wants all of us to know, that he was born in a small village in Tamil Nadu called Rameshwaram. In the childhood, he was a great admirer of his father, Jainul Abdin. So as a young boy, he always admired his father so much, and his name was Jainul Abdin. He was a man of great wisdom and kindness, and he said about Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri. So he also describes his father as a great man of wisdom and kindness. His father was very wise and he was kind also. And he talks about his father's friend, about P. Lakshmana Shastri, a close friend of his father and the head priest of the Rameshwaram temple. There was a temple in Rameshwaram village, and the chief priest was his father's friend. We all know that Abdul Kalam comes from a Muslim background, and his father has a very close friend who is a priest of a temple. So here we understand how closely they are, they bring the secularism in their families into their lives. He had an ideal helpmate in his mother, Ashyama. Ashyama is his father's, helpmate. She would help him in every work, and he was also influenced by his close friend Ahmad Jalauddin. He was about 15 years older than Kalam. So all these people had influenced his life in his early life, in his childhood, like his father, his father's good friend, his mother, and another person who was 15 years older to Kalam, and his name was Ahmad Jalauddin. Now these are the important people in his early life. This shows that he believed in spirituality and also believed in God and Khuda. So here we understand that there is secularism. Also there is a strong belief system in Abdul Kalam and his family that they believe in God or Khuda. You call it God, you call it Khuda, or you call it Christ, but it is a supernatural power. It is the God whom he believed in very strongly. So that spirituality always makes a person being humble. It teaches us many lessons. It makes us more grounded. When you understand the depth of spirituality, it makes you more simple. It transforms your entire personality. So probably that could be one of the reasons why Abdul Kalam was so simple and very humble, though being very successful. So here he also talks that he would go to Lord Shiva's temple with his friends. So again there is one more point which explains that Abdul Kalam followed secularism. He respected all the religions. He moved with other religion people. He did not have any discrimination, and he would visit temples also. The later part of the opening chapters, he introduces his cousin Samsuddin, his school teachers, and all the people who were felt any difference among them. So he also introduces his very close friend, his school teachers, and all the people who influenced him. Here he expresses one event which happened in his school days. Rameshwaram Shastri, a new teacher of his school, he could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. So here he talks about a small experience wherein Kalam would go to a school, and there was a new teacher, and his name was Rameshwaram Shastri. So he did not like the fact that Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. So he could not stomach, this is an expression again, he could not stomach a Hindu priest. What is the meaning of stomach? He could not digest, he could not, he could not digest the fact that, he could not cope up with the feeling that a Hindu priest's son is sitting with a Muslim boy. So, ఒక ప్రీస్ట్ వాళ్ళ ఒక పూజారి కొడుకు ఒక ముస్లిం అబ్బాయితో కూర్చొని భోజనం చేయటం అనేది అతనికి సహించలేదన్నమాట. సో ఏం చేశాడు, ఇన్ అకార్డెన్స్ విత్ ఆ సోషల్ ర్యాంకింగ్ యాజ్ ద న్యూ టీచర్ సా ఇట్. సోషల్ ర్యాంకింగ్ అనేది ఉంటుంది ప్రతి సొసైటీలో, లైక్ బ్యాక్వర్డ్ క్లాసెస్, అప్పర్ కాస్ట్, ముస్లిమ్స్, ఆల్ దిస్ డిస్క్రిమినేషన్, డిఫరెన్సెస్ ఉంటాయి. వాళ్ళు వీళ్ళతో కూర్చోకూడదు, వీళ్ళు వాళ్ళతోటే స్నేహం చేయాలి, ఇలాంటివన్నీ ఉన్నప్పుడు టీచర్ ఏం చేస్తాడంటే, I was asked. He says that I was asked. Why is he? Because it is his own story. అతను చెప్తున్నాడు అతని స్టోరీ. I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. కలాంని తీసుకెళ్ళి అక్కడి నుంచి వెనకాల బెంచ్లో కూర్చోమని చెప్పారట. I felt very sad. So Kalam says, I felt very sad, and so did my parents. I was hurt, and even my parents were hurt about this incident. Then Lakshmana Shastri. Who is Lakshmana Shastri? He was the priest of the Rameshwaram temple, if you remember. So Lakshmana Shastri summoned the teacher. He called the teacher immediately, and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison. Do not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. So he said that these kind of inequalities or social differences should not be inculcated, should not be actually disturbing the minds of innocent children. ఆ టీచర్ని పిలిచి ఆ ప్రీస్ట్ అప్పుడు చెప్పాడనమాట, పిల్లల్లో ఇలాంటి భేదాలు ఇలాంటివన్నీ డిఫరెన్సెస్ వాళ్ళకి చూపించకూడదు అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ కరెక్ట్ అని చెప్పడం జరిగింది. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ వన్ ఇన్సిడెంట్, ఒక స్మాల్ ఇన్సిడెంట్ మనతో అతను ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ అతను మనతో షేర్ చేసుకున్నారు. He completed his school education in Rameshwaram. He completed his education and then Squats High School lo chadivaru, adi kuda Rameshwaram lone. In 1950 he joined St. Joseph's College, Trichy. So 1950 lo he joined Trichy to study his BSc, and where he realized that physics was not his subject. We all know that BSc lo physics compulsory untundi, even if you like the other subjects. One subject will be very difficult and one subject will definitely not get into your head. He realized it then. And what did he do? Then at last he applied in Madras Institute of Technology, MIT ki apply cheyatam jarigindi, and then he or his family could not afford to spend that much of money for the course of MIT. So MIT is expensive definitely, so he could not afford. We all know that he comes from a background where they cannot really afford to make their children study higher education. But again, your problems or your goals will be so strong that these problems will not be a hindrance to reach our goals. In the similar manner, Abdul Kalam, so he spoke or he explained all this with his to his sister Zohara. So wala sister toti anni cheppi Zohara toti, when he had his in specific branch of aeronautical engineering, the goal was very clear in his mind at that time. See, what happens is when you have goals, clear cut goals in life, all these problems seem to be very small. మనకి గోల్స్ అనేవి మనం క్లియర్ కట్గా పెట్టుకున్నప్పుడు మనకి ఇలాంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ అన్నీ కూడా చాలా చిన్నగా మైన్యూట్గా అనిపిస్తాయి అన్నమాట. సో అబ్దుల్ కలాం కూడా హీ హ్యాస్ క్లియర్ కట్ విజన్. సో వాట్ ఐ షుడ్ స్టడీ, వాట్ ఐ షుడ్ డూ నెక్స్ట్, all these things were very clear on his mind, and these problems were only a kind of not hurdles at all, small challenges. He considered them as small challenges, and he faced all this with courage. That is the beauty of a personality. When you have problems, you should not put yourself off. When you have challenges in life, you should not think that you are unfortunate. When you have problems in life, you should know how to face them, challenge them, and try to find out solutions. That is more important. So most of the people ఏం చేస్తూ ఉంటారు, సమస్యలు వచ్చినప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ఆ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ని ఎలా హ్యాండిల్ చేయాలో తెలియక డిప్రెషన్లోకి వెళ్ళిపోవడము, లేదు అంటే ఇంతేనా లైఫ్ ఇంకా ఇక నెక్స్ట్ ఏం లేదా అనుకోవడము, ఇలాంటి ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ మనం చూస్తూనే ఉంటాం. కానీ ఎప్పుడైతే మనము గ్రేట్ లీడర్స్ స్టోరీస్ చదివినప్పుడు ప్రతి గ్రేట్ లీడర్ స్టోరీలో ఒక మెసేజ్ ఉంటుంది మనకి. వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఫెయిల్యూర్స్ నుంచి పైకి వచ్చిన వాళ్ళే, వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఒక ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ నుంచి పైకి వచ్చిన వాళ్ళే, వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఫైనాన్షియల్గా వీక్ ఉండవచ్చు. ఇలాంటి స్టోరీస్ మనం చాలా చాలా చూసి ఉన్నాం. సో వాళ్ళందరూ మనకి ఇచ్చే ఇండైరెక్ట్ మెసేజ్ ఏంటి అంటే, ఫ్రమ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ టు గ్రో, ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ యూ మస్ట్ లెర్న్ టు ఫైండ్ ద సొల్యూషన్స్ and become successful. That's when you create history. So Abdul Kalam also understood that physics is not his subject. Aeronautical engineering is definitely interesting, but aeronautical engineering chadvadaniki dabbu levu. But did he stop there? No. He spoke to many people. He took advice from many people, and he finally got the solution, and successfully he finished his studies. Now in MIT there, his teacher, Professor Sponder, Professor Karl and Professor Narsimha Rao, these three people, these three professors had shaped his personality. It means that he tried to communicate with different kinds of people తో మాట్లాడి చర్చించి ఫైనలీ ఆ కాలేజ్లో అడ్మిషన్ తీసుకొని ఆ ముగ్గురు ఇంపార్టెంట్ ప్రొఫెసర్స్తో వాళ్ళ ఇతని పర్సనాలిటీని షేపప్ చేశారనమాట. So they have their own very good personalities and they shaped his personality. Now each of them had carried distinct personalities. All these professors had carried different personalities and very distinct, and distinct is very clear, sharp personalities. So వీళ్ళని చూసి అబ్దుల్ కలాం చాలా చాలా నేర్చుకున్నారు లైఫ్లో. అండ్ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ ఆఫ్ MIT వాజ్ ఎ ఇయర్ ఆఫ్ ట్రాన్సిషన్. ఇయర్ ఆఫ్ ట్రాన్సిషన్ ఈస్ ఇయర్ ఆఫ్ transformation. It is a change anamata, from something to something, from a small, a young teenager to a just growing adult, and had a great impact on his later life. So this age is very crucial for everybody, for anyone as such. So 18 to 20 is a different age where we think that we know everything, but after we complete our graduation or masters, there is a lot of change in our personality, there is a lot of change in our thought process, how we think, how we look at life, how we understand people, everything changes. In the similar manner, Kalam also had a great impact, and akkada jarigina changes anni kuda atani future life ni చాలా చాలా ఇంపాక్ట్ఫుల్ గా చేశాయి. From MIT he went out to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. I told you he studied aeronautical engineering, and from there he went to work with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. HAL is it's called as, and it is in Bangalore, and he joined as a trainer. Soon after he finished his masters, he joined as a trainer in HAL. There he worked on engine overhauling as part of a team. So he worked on an engine anamata, and then he had trained in he trained in radial engine cum drum operation. So he worked in these two things, an engine, and he also had trained in radial engine cum drum operations. After the completion of engineering, he had applied for the Air Force and Directorate of Technical Development and Production, DTD, and PC of the Ministry of Defense. So after his engineering, he applied for Air Force, he applied for Production Development and Production Directorate and PC, but he was not selected. Though he applied, he was not selected in Air Force because he failed to pass the physical fitness standards. Though he was intellectually very very on high, very very high in his thinking, but he could not clear his physical fitness examination, and that's when he had to drop it. But later he was appointed. Did he give up? He failed. But did he give up? He could not afford to pay his fees. Did he give up? No. So these kind of situations will definitely come in our lives, but how we overcome matters, and that is called as fortitude. So later he was appointed in DTD and PC Air as senior scientific assistant on basic salary of just 250 per month. That was in 1950, way back. So he had to create opportunities by his own. This statement is very very important. He had to create opportunities by his own, and he had created. He went, met people, understood their experiences. He implemented many in his life. He learnt many lessons, and he created opportunities by his own. Every time opportunities don't come to us, sometimes you also have to go and find out what opportunity is waiting for you. Always don't sit at your place and think, okay, something miracle is going to happen, ఏదో వచ్చేస్తుంది, నాకు ఏదో మంచి జరుగుతుంది అని మనం ఉన్న చోట ఎటువంటి ఎఫర్ట్ పెట్టకుండా కూర్చుంటే జరగదు. బట్ మనము కూడా బయటికి వెళ్ళి నలుగురితో మాట్లాడి ఆపర్చునిటీస్ మనం వెతుక్కుని మనకి ఎలా సూటబుల్గా ఉంటుంది, మనకి ఎలా హెల్ప్ఫుల్గా ఉంటుంది అనేది మనము తెలుసుకోగలగాలి. సేమ్ థింగ్ Abdul Kalam also did the same thing. At the stage he covered 32 eventful years of his life. So by then Abdul Kalam was 32 years old. And how does he say that? 32 eventful years. Eventful years is very successful, very nice journey he had experienced, good and bad, everything, but it was an eventful journey. 32 years of his life when he was just on the threshold of his career after graduation. Graduation అయిపోయిన తర్వాత exact time anamata where he was applying for different jobs, he was trying to be getting placement, our time low, when he was just on the threshold of his career. So this is very crucial stage, crucial age for him. Now section creation traverses 7 chapters. Now this section called creation I told you we have 8 sections in the entire book. In this section called creation, we have 7 chapters, again from chapters 4 to chapter 10, and covers Kalam's life and work for 17 years. So creation lo manaki 7 chapters unnai. 7 chapters lo 4 to chapter 10, 4th chapter to 10th chapter anta kuda atani life, atani work gurinchi 17 years of journey. ఇక్కడ 1963 నుంచి 1980 వరకు కూడా అతను మెన్షన్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. ఇట్ బిగిన్స్ విత్ హిస్ రికలెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ వర్క్స్. ఎక్కడి నుంచి వర్క్ స్టార్ట్ చేశారట? అట్ ద లాంగ్లే రీసెర్చ్ సెంటర్ 1, నాసా ఇన్ హౌస్టన్ 2, then at other facilities in the USA including the Wallops Flight Facility, Wallops Island in east coast of the United States. So from where to where? From aeronautical engineering to, you know, he started working with NASA, USA and Wallops Flight Facility. From where to where he started working? And at a NASA facility, this is very important again. Ikkada there is an event. He remembers NASA lo work chestunnappudu when he had been to United States, akkada chusaru enti, he remembers to have seen a painting. What did he see? He saw a painting prominently displayed. It was prominently అంటే పెద్దగా డిస్ప్లే చేసి జరిగింది అనమాట, వెరీ క్లియర్గా లాబీలో, ఎక్కడ? యుఎస్లో. And the painting depicted a battle scene. What was the painting all about? It was a battle scene. ఒక యుద్ధం గురించి, with a rocket flying in the background. యుద్ధం జరుగుతుంది, వెనకాల నుంచి రాకెట్ ఉంది బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్లో. సో అది చూస్తారు. He observes that. On closer examination, when he observes it in a closer view, he found that the painting depicted Tipu Sultan's army fighting the British. So how important this is, how significant this is. It makes us understand that India has its own glory. ఒక వేరే కంట్రీలో మన కంట్రీలో ఒక రాజు బ్రిటిష్ తోటి ఫైట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆ బ్యాటిల్లో ఉన్న పిక్చర్ని తీసి యుఎస్లో అక్కడ డిస్ప్లే చేయడం అనేది ఇట్స్ నాట్ డెఫినెట్లీ అ స్మాల్ థింగ్, ఇట్ ఈస్ సంథింగ్ వెరీ వెరీ సిగ్నిఫికెంట్. సో హీ అబ్జర్వ్స్ ఇట్. కలాం felt happy to see an Indian glorified in NASA as a hero. So Indians are glorified as heroes in NASA. That's definitely not small thing, and he felt very happy after seeing that, and that too as a hero of rocketry warfare, because appudu yuddham jariginappudu oka rocket background lo undi. I told you the same thing was displayed in NASA, that picture. So he felt very happy. Then his association, another experience చెప్తారు మనకి. his association with Tumba and satellite launch vehicle and related projects are vividly presented in the section creation. So creation అనే సెక్షన్లో ఈ టాపిక్స్ అన్నీ కూడా ఆయన అసోసియేషన్ తుంబా తోటి, తర్వాత శాటిలైట్ లాంచ్ వెహికల్ తోటి, ఇవన్నీ ఎలాంటి అసోసియేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి అవన్నీ కూడా ఆయన ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. డ్యూరింగ్ ద పీరియడ్ కవర్డ్ అండర్ క్రియేషన్, కలాం ఇన్ ద ఇయర్ 1976, క్రియేషన్ అనే చాప్టర్లోనే ఆయన రాస్తారు. 1976లో he lost his father who lived up to 102 years of age. So he lost his father at 102 years of age. So this is another important change in his life. And Kalam took the bereavement. What is the meaning of bereavement? Bereavement is sadness, బాధ. అటువంటి బాధ, తండ్రిని కోల్పోయిన బాధని కూడా అతను ధైర్యంగా విత్ కరేజ్ అండ్ రిమెంబర్ దీస్ వర్డ్స్ రిటన్ ఆన్ ద డెత్ ఆఫ్ విలియం యీట్స్ బై హిస్ ఫ్రెండ్ ఆర్డెన్ అండ్ హిస్ ఫాదర్. సో హీ రిమెంబర్స్ వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్ని కోల్పోయిన తర్వాత, పోగొట్టుకున్న తర్వాత అతను ఎంత బాధపడ్డాడంటే, బట్ ఈ వర్డ్స్ ఒక వెరీ ఫేమస్ పోయట్ W.B. Yeats, written on the death of W.B. Yeats by his friend Auden అనే ఒక పోయిట్. W.B. Yeats చనిపోయినప్పుడు ఒక టూంబ్ పైన రాసిన అక్షరాల్ని గుర్తు చేసుకుంటారు. వాట్ ఆర్ దోస్ లైన్స్? దోస్ లైన్స్ ఆర్ హియర్. Earth receive an honored guest. Earth has received an honored guest. ఎర్త్కి మనము అతను వెళ్ళిపోయినప్పుడు ఒక ఆనర్ అంటే ఒక రెస్పెక్ట్ఫుల్ పర్సన్, ఒక గెస్ట్ లాగా రిసీవ్ చేసుకుందంట. William Yeats is laid to rest. So who died? William Yeats died. And who writes about William Yeats here? Auden రాస్తారు. William Yeats is laid to rest. Laid to rest is he is in the earth. He is no more. He is no more alive. In the prison of his days, teach the free man how to praise. So in the prison of his days, teach the free man how to praise. మనిషి బ్రతికి ఉన్నప్పుడే teach the free man how to praise అని ఆర్డర్ రాస్తాడు. W.B. Yeats చనిపోయినప్పుడు. సో ఆ వర్డ్స్ అన్నీ అతను గుర్తు చేసుకొని he just teach the man how to praise, and earth receives an honored guest. That one line is so captivating. Earth has received an honored guest. So when you look death as something very sorrowful, it actually kills you. It actually makes you more saddened. But when you look at it in a different perspective, then ఇంకో రకంగా చూసినప్పుడు ఎర్త్కి మనము we all come from earth and we all go there. So we all know the fact that we all come from mud and then we all go there again. So earth has taken us back. Earth has taken him back and తెలిసిన తర్వాత, and he is now resting in peace and తెలిసిన తర్వాత, the mourning will actually be little lesser. We all live with hope again that we all will go there eventually. So death ni kuda great poets డిఫరెంట్ పర్సెప్షన్లో రాస్తారనమాట. అంటే మనం నార్మల్ పీపుల్ ఎలా చూస్తారు అంటే, ఇప్పుడు మనకి చాలా ఇష్టమైన వాళ్ళు ఎవరన్నా మనం పోగొట్టుకుంటే ఖచ్చితంగా ఆ బాధలో మనము చాలా బాధపడుతూ దుఃఖపడుతూ ఏడుస్తూ ఉంటాము. కానీ అది ఒక పోయెట్ కానీ ఒక గ్రేట్ పీపుల్ కానీ వాళ్ళు ఎలా రిసీవ్ చేసుకున్నారు, వాళ్ళంతా మౌనంగా సైలెంట్గా రోధించకుండా ఎలా ఉన్నారు అంటే, డెఫినెట్లీ దే విల్ హ్యావ్ పెయిన్, కానీ వాళ్ళందరూ దాన్ని డిఫరెంట్ పర్సెప్షన్లో చూస్తారు. లైక్ వాళ్ళకి తెలిసిన సత్యం ఏంటి అంటే, we all know the truth that we all come from earth and we all go there. That's first thing. Second thing, we all understand that eventually we all have to die. If there is birth, there is death. So if you understand, the great people actually understand the great lessons of life, and once they understand that the soul which is not anymore in shackles, ఎటువంటి బంధాలు లేకుండా ఉన్న ఒక మనిషి ఇంకా ఫ్రీగా వెళ్ళిపోయి he is resting in peace అని తెలిసినప్పుడు, the beauty of life and the beauty of death, everything is understood crystal clearly. And that's how great leaders emerge and great personalities emerge, only when you know the beauty of life. Similarly, Abdul Kalam, when he lost his father, he realized how to deal with his sadness by reading all these lines. The period covered in the section creation also brought Kalam national recognition. It's not only about how he studied, how he was associated with NASA, how he lost his father, but also he writes in creation that how Kalam has made our country, how he has brought national recognition. That also is mentioned. A pleasant surprise came in the form of conferment of Padma Bhushan. Not only that, he had been he received Padma Bhushan award on the Republic Day in 1981. Next section is propitiation. Propitiation is actually, the actual meaning is trying to please or trying to cover up for the past mistakes, or probably point of self realization is propitiation. Propitiation అంటే మనము తెలుసు అది తప్పు జరిగిందని దాన్ని మళ్ళీ మనము దాన్ని సరిదిద్దుకోవడం అంటారు కదా, అలాంటి ప్రాసెస్ని propitiation అంటారు. ఇందులో దిస్ ఈస్ ద పీరియడ్ ఆఫ్ 1981 to 1991, 10 years, and contains 5 chapters. ఇందులో propitiationలో we have 5 chapters from chapter 10 to 14. ఇందులో ఏం చెప్తారు, క్రియేషన్లో ఆయన ఎర్లీ డేస్, చైల్డ్హుడ్, ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అన్నీ చెప్పినప్పుడు, ప్రొప్రిసియేషన్లో ఆయన జర్నీ ఆఫ్ అ సైంటిస్ట్ అది మెన్షన్ చేస్తారు. టువర్డ్స్ బికమింగ్ ద మిసైల్ మ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా, ఫ్రమ్ ద ఎర్లీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ టు హిజ్ higher education to his working as a trainer. That is one stage of his life. The next stage is propitiation. అందులో అతను మిసైల్ మ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా లాగా ఎలా అయ్యారు అనేది క్లియర్గా మెన్షన్ చేస్తారు. In this section, his excellent leadership qualities. See, that's one more important thing you have to learn, leadership qualities. Abdul Kalam anagane, you have to understand that he is a wonderful and an unbeatable leader, we can say. Why? Because a leader always takes the responsibility of his team, and a leader is the one who influences many people with his actions. A leader is not the one who only gives speeches, but he proves his leadership qualities through his wonderful actions. So Abdul Kalam is one such great leader, and in his section, his leadership qualities as taking up the responsibility of shaping up the guided missile development program. This is very, very important. ఈ మిసైల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్లో ఆయన తీసుకున్న లీడర్షిప్ రోల్ కూడా చాలా బాగా చెప్తారనమాట. ఎందుకంటే ఒకసారి మిస్టేక్ జరిగినప్పుడు కలాం ఏం చెప్తారు అంటే అదంతా తన తప్పు అని చెప్తారు, అడ్మిట్ చేసుకుంటారు. ఒక లీడర్ ఏం చేస్తారు అంటే ఒక సక్సెస్ జరిగింది అనుకోండి, అది వాళ్ళ టీంకి ఇస్తారు. ఒక మిస్టేక్ జరిగితే అది తన వల్ల మిస్టేక్ జరిగింది అంటారు. యూజువల్గా మనము నార్మల్ పీపుల్ ఏమనుకుంటాం, మిస్టేక్ జరిగితే నో అది నా రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ కాదు, వాళ్ళ వల్లే ఇలా పాడైపోయింది అని చెప్తారు. బట్ గ్రేట్ పీపుల్ విల్ నెవర్ డూ దట్. దే ఆల్వేస్ టేక్ ద రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ ఆన్ దర్ షోల్డర్స్ అండ్ సే ఇట్స్ మై ఫాల్ట్, వాళ్ళది కాదు, ఇట్స్ మై ఫాల్ట్ అని చెప్పి వాళ్ళకి ఒక ప్రాపర్ డైరెక్షన్లో మళ్ళీ దాన్ని షేపప్ చేస్తారు. అండ్ క్రెడిట్ ఇవ్వాలి అన్నప్పుడు వాళ్ళు తీసుకోకుండా వాళ్ళ టీంకి క్రెడిట్ ఇస్తారు. ఇదంతా కూడా నా టీం వర్క్ అని చెప్తారు, నా అని చెప్పరు. అ ట్రూ లీడర్ విల్ నెవర్ యూజ్ ద వర్డ్ ఐ, హీ విల్ రాదర్ యూజ్ ద వర్డ్ వి. సో హియర్ హీ డిస్ప్లేస్ ద ట్రూ లీడర్షిప్ క్వాలిటీస్ అన్నమాట. In this phase of life, Kalam was responsible for the development of 5 missiles. ఇదే స్టేజ్లో కూడా ఆయన 5 మిసైల్స్కి హీ ఈజ్ హెడింగ్. లైక్ వాట్ ఆర్ దోస్ మిసైల్స్? పృథ్వీ, త్రిశూల్, ఆకాష్, నాగ్ అండ్ అగ్ని. దీస్ ఆర్ ద 5 important missiles he had headed and he had taken the responsibility. So by this we understand the different sections of Abdul Kalam's book, The Wings of Fire, and how many sections and how many chapters we have in each book, in each section, and what are the different phases of his life, right from his early childhood to his early education, to his school experiences, to his family members, then his next higher education, to his training programs, projects, and his NASA, and how he had seen the portrait of Tipu Sultan fighting a battle, and all these things, his association with very important major missiles in our country, and how he has become the missile man of India. ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఆయన ప్రతి చాప్టర్లో ఆయన ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తూ మనకి క్లియర్గా తన ఆటోబయోగ్రఫీ మన ముందు ఉంచారు. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ అబ్దుల్ కలామ్స్ బుక్ ద వింగ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫైర్. హోప్ యూ ఆల్ అండర్స్టూడ్. అండ్ నౌ వీ విల్ మూవ్ ఆన్ టు ద క్వశ్చన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎర్లియర్ పేపర్స్. ఎలాంటి క్వశ్చన్స్ ఎలా అడిగారు, ఎక్కడి నుంచి క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగారు, ఒక్కసారి మనము దాన్ని రివైజ్ చేసుకుందాం. So we will discuss about the earlier questions in Gurukula test, asked in Gurukula test. The first question, we are talking about Wings of Fire. Please keep in mind, when he went to Delhi to attend his interview, he was not as per Wings of Fire. Our book prakaranga interview ki vellinappudu he was not. He was not well prepared, he was not well dressed, he was not selected, he was not interested. What is the answer? Definitely we have read that he was not selected. So answer is 3. Let's move on to the next question. From the book Wings of Fire, we get to know that he had a good childhood, his parents were poor, his parents were farmers, he moved from school to school. We know that his parents were poor, so the answer is option 2. Move on to the next question. Wings of Fire by Kalam can be called his, నేను చెప్పాను మీకు, తన గురించి తను రాసుకున్న పుస్తకాన్ని మనం ఏమంటామో ఆటోబయోగ్రఫీ. సో ఇందులో ఏమి ఇచ్చారు? నోవెల్, ఆటోబయోగ్రఫీ, డైరీ అండ్ బయోగ్రఫీ. We all know that the answer is 3. Let's move on to the next question. Wings of Fire is a or an dash of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. APJ Kalam, I'm sorry, collection of stories or biography, autobiography or collection of poems. So it is autobiography. We all know that option 3 is the answer. Next question. As a small boy, one day Kalam felt very sad because his teacher punished him for his bad behavior. He ate all the rotis without leaving any for his mother. His brother scolded him for his bad behavior, or his mother was sick and he could not get a doctor. So Abdul Kalam, when he was sad, as per the book, His teacher punished him for his bad behavior. Did we read about it? No. Did he eat all his rotis? No, definitely no. His brother scolded him for his bad behavior? Never. So options are either 1 or 4. Let's move on to the next question. Fill in the blanks by choosing the right option given below the sentence. And dash of APJ Abdul Kalam's Wings of Fire was first published in Elegy, Account, Autobiography or Autobiography 1999. The years are also mentioned. We all read it is in 1999 Autobiography. So the answer is option 4. Let's move on to the other question.